Good evening. Welcome to Options Tender. It is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. Welcome, everybody. I didn't have any power earlier, so I apologize for those who, the supporters who want to get the intraday analysis. I will continue that tomorrow. We're back in business here, and I just wanted to give an update. Not a whole lot going on. I know that NVDA is a big deal, but this shouldn't be a very long video. I think our scenario, our pullback is working out, and we'll show you. We're going to start off with SPY on the monthly time frame and go all the way down to the 65 and check out QQQ and some after hours action from NVDA, NVIDIA. So don't forget to like the video, and if you're new here, go down to that bottom right hand corner, hit that Options Center logo, and subscribe. Let's jump into it. We have SPY on the monthly time frame. We're looking at 2000 top 2021, and we're forming a top here. We're just trying to see what this candle is going to do. Our month is just about over. We have 2 days left. Let's see what kind of candle we get. As of right now, it's a hangman with a tweezer top here formation. And I think that's a good reversal potential. Okay, so with the Fed pivot, we could just start to move down with an alternate scenario of getting a new high, forming a bigger top before heading lower. And I think this is such a big top because it's going to be a larger scale correction. So let's go to the weekly. Now, in this weekly time frame, you basically see the same thing. We're trading around this trend line here from 2000. We're above the 8 EMA, so we're in a bullish posture. But again, we're against resistance. We're in this zone. It's a massive macro trend line. So it's a zone. We're trading around it. We're above the 8 EMA, and the trend is still technically up. So changing over to the board, why are we stopping here? Because we have our second target, a very important target from this correction. We have the retracement back to 162%. Okay, tagged it there, tagged it twice in 2 weeks, reversed off of it hard, got to our first target, 127% retracement, and then just ping pong back and forth. So now we have to pay close attention to this range. Is this a range play where we continue to have a playbook? There's a lot more detail in a couple videos back. I'll post it up top and at the end of the video. Is it that playbook where we go to test the lows again and then we make a slight new high, basically just a range play before breaking down? Or now that the market knows that the Fed pivoted, are we going to break down directly? Break the lows, go down to that 382, which will likely see a reaction because you'll have buyers in there as a wave 4 possibility. This would be considered an A, B, C to a lot of bulls. And you can't negate their situation that it could make new highs from there as a wave 5 there. But we're gonna keep in mind that we have our bear hats on. The Fed pivoted, and we'll be looking for lower highs at that point. How we trade, is not exactly how this is projected. We're looking for reversal. We're looking to test the lows. That's our trade. What happens around here is going to be very tough. We'll have that's a much tougher trade to go through. We'll have to see what price action does, and I'll show you on the lower time frames what we'll be looking out for. But if it does get down to this 382, then you have a possible left shoulder head, like a double head there, and then right shoulder before going lower. Then we'll have a measured move at that point. Now 9-1 is clearly the weekend there. So the week of, we're looking for something to happen within that. I mean, really, we're right in the zone right now. So if we reversed off of here at this point, I would still consider that the week. considered. Going to the daily. On the daily time frame, the traditional technical analysis, we have filling out of the bearish rising wedge. We also have a potential channel here with the 2 touches at the bottom and the touch from that retracement, and also the trend line from the wedge on the bottom. They all come into a confluence here. So in the bullish scenario, what we're looking at is this trend line holding here. So we're looking for the pullback to be here around that 530, 534 area. Also the 100-day moving average. And taking off a lot of our trade by that time, okay? So at that point, you know, does price go back up and make a new high like the 2021 playbook? Or is this the 2007 where it directly goes up from here? You know, at this point, that doesn't look likely if NVIDIA is going to be so negative after hours. And I'll show you why that doesn't look exactly like that situation once we go to the Qs. Okay, so this will be our kind of our pivot point. Does it break down from there, or do we just get a bounce, backtest maybe the trend line here, and then go lower? Lots of questions at that point, but we're in a swing trade right now, and it's working out well. Let's go over to another board. Okay, so time and price. Okay, here we go. Time and price, we're moving down here. That will be kind of our pivot. That's the 530.76. And coming into time and price, we have a cluster here with 9.3 to about 9.6. Let's call it 9.12. You have this whole range here that could be a low. All right, so that's what we're considering our range play here, time and price wise. So we'll see where price is when we get into the week of 9.3 all the way to 9.11. Okay, that's a little bit over a week, I believe. And we'll see what happens at that point. Do we make it down lower to 786 and then get a bounce? We'll have to see, but we'll see where time and price come together. Now, this is the 23.6 retracement that we already had a reaction off of. And so on the macro view, I think this is a really, really big point. We keep talking about the 520, and that's why. So we get underneath the 520, and then we continue to be bearish. I think the next level will be 492. All right, we'll look at that in the future because we could have a bounce before even heading down there. So what people will be looking at is this being a double top. So this would be a possible 1-2, and then 1-2, and then 3 headed lower. Or the bulls will be looking at this as an A, a large B, flat pattern, and then a C down to here for wave 4, and then a new high. And then the alternate scenario where we're looking at our pivot on the traditional technical analysis around the 530, we'll be looking for this being a B, or excuse me, on SPY. I was thinking Qs. On SPY, this would be considered a 1. We're getting a wave 2 pullback. If we make a new high, we'll be looking for a 3, a 4, and a 5 up here. Probably into these target areas around the 580. If we were to go directly to that point, I don't think the price would have gone straight up to here. I think it would have had some sort of fake break at a lower level. But if we get a nice pullback and there is an impulsive wave, it'd be a wave 3. So it'd be aggressive. It would probably get all these gap ups very similar to this wave 1 move up here. All right, let's go to 65. On the 65 minute, here's a better look at what we'd be looking for. target around 530. That just coincides with that downtrend line. Does it have to get there? No, not necessarily. I just think that's a likely place for this to play out. Nice deep retracement going to the 62% retracement, and then getting some sort of reaction, whether that's a lower high or a target into FOMC. That would be our target up there if it's bullish, or maybe we break down into FOMC. So that's kind of the key target price and time here. So if we're up here when FOMC is playing out, then we'll be looking for another short. If we're down here when FOMC is playing out, we'll be looking for some sort of bounce. Changing that board here. Better look, 530, that's the 62% retracement from this first move. So either this say in red, a 1, 2, very, very sharp pullback, but a lower high nevertheless. And then 3 continues lower. Or this is a correction for a wave 4. And we have our 1 in turquoise, our 2, that sharp correction we're talking about, and 3, 4, 5 to get into our target zones up top here around 580. Let's check out the Qs. On the Qs, this is what that would look like. You see that this is kind of playing out as this as the tech market is much weaker. As noted on the last video, I believe, it was tech leading the market lower to a correction. So it should be a sharper move down. And you notice that the channel we have here is much lower in relationship to this move here. So I do think we could possibly close this gap, or at minimum get down to this 446. And members know that that's what kind of puts that we have on here for our swing into time and price, going into this level with a bonus of maybe some runners into a lower level here. Okay, so in that point, we'll be looking for a decision. So we're likely to see it if we see both the Qs and SPY testing their trend lines in relationship to each other, where the SPY is just a little bit stronger and the Qs drag us down lower. That would be a perfect spot to take a lot of profit and start looking for a bounce play at that point. Now, whether we make a new high or not from this high, that's the story. Now, what I want to talk about is if NVIDIA gets a lot more weak after hours, which is kind of what I'm looking for. It's no coincidence that price stopped here and had a reaction off of the 200 moving average and this gap. So after hours, gapping below this gap is going to create an island gap here. That's very bearish. Okay, so do we continue this run to the downside, or do we go a sharp move and look to close the island gap and close this gap all the way up here? Because if we get a sharp enough move here to the upside, I don't know what that catalyst would be. We'll have to look into that when the time being. It doesn't have to have a catalyst, but if this is a sharp move at the 21 top playbook, then that's what we'd be looking for, is a high, not a new all-time high, just a high above this one. And then a lower high, this would be in relationship to the all-time highs. This is what it would look like. Okay, time relationship going into about the 9.3, but we have all the way to the 9.12. Okay, so we got plenty of time here to get down into that area and then to move up to the 8.87 or to continue lower. But this would be in relationship if the Qs make it to 7.86 while SPY makes it to the 62. That would be no coincidence, and then we'll be looking for a reversal, at least to play a bounce. And all this would be is an impulse move to the downside, and we're playing a top. And so again, this is kind of a range play, but this, after this impulse move, I don't have it written here. Let's do it on the daily time frame. So this is how it's mapped out, where we have impulse 1. And if we want to make a new high, we have an A. And I'm glad I brought this one up because the 786 was not tagged. It doesn't have to continue lower, but that's unfinished business there. It was a little too close. So didn't quite get there. Maybe we get down to the 786, a nice sharp retracement, and that would be a wave 2 for SPY. And then we get that impulse wave 3 for SPY, but this is a C wave, which is an impulse move for QQQ to close, not only if we gap under, to close this gap and this gap. Okay, so just something to pay attention to. That is a good scenario. But if we break down, because we'll have some, we'll be looking for the bounce here to play. So we'll be net long, but if we get down here, we'll have put protection just in case it gaps lower and continues. We break the lows. I think this is a whole nother game. Break the lows of SPY. We'll have our alternate scenario still, because this could be just an expanded flat, make a new low, and then go higher after that, after a fake break. So all these scenarios, that's why we do these videos so constant, because the information is endless. You just don't know where the market's going to be. It's chaotic. And we just have to read the possibilities and protect our positions as we go. All right. And we'll look at VIX and IWM. We'll take a peek at SMH as well. And then we'll get to NVDA. Okay, now we talked about this in the last video. This doesn't quite look like the scenario where we're going to get new highs directly. Okay, so that I think is off the table. We had this downtrend line. We broke out from it. You can even draw like a triangle setup there. We broke out from that that downtrend. So this is giving me a clue that VIX is going to go higher, price is going to correct lower. Does it mean we go straight down? I don't know. We'll keep in mind, if the VIX continues to go higher, then I think we're breaking down directly and we're not going to get a significant bounce. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that every day while we're doing this. IWM still in the situation where it could have some strength. We talked about the scenario where we already tagged the 786, so this could be over and just a lower high and continue lower. So if the rest of the market is doing it, this is going to end there. But if we're getting the scenario where we have that flat pattern in the Qs and we make a lower high, but we go close the gaps, then we're likely going to test back to this zone here in IWM and correct with it, but just relatively stronger, and then get a sharp move to the upside along with everything else, make a new high, a deep retracement to the 887, which is still a lower high from the all-time highs. And this would be considered an A, B, and then after that, the crash action for C, much, much lower. SMH. Now what this would look like, I don't have it mapped out on this one. I'll go back to the 65. Sorry, I keep bouncing around. I have different things drawn in different places. So this is kind of playing out the way we're looking for it as well. You have a downtrend line, looking for a back test and possibly making a new low, or you can consider that a double bottom, even if we make a slight new low. And SMH should give us a really good clue. So we have this great trend line. Let's see if I can look at it from the daily. This great trend line here potentially for this here, and that coincides with the 200 moving average. So it's going to be important. So this downtrend line and this gap, maybe we go to fill the gap. If we break down from this trend line, then I think that's the direct move where this is a 1-2 setup and we go to wave 3. All right. If we hold this trend and or this gap, then look for this to retrace higher. Very similar, and I don't have it drawn out here like the Qs. So very similar to the Qs, this impulse move is over to the downside, and we should be looking for a nice retracement. We already hit the 62, so is that satisfied as a 1-2 setup? Absolutely. So this could be the top, but if we break down further, which clearly we're 8 points lower after hours, then we can put out this 786, and we'll be looking for the next target, whereas this will go down to make that double bottom, like I said. And since we have that beautiful trend line below it, that would be a great reference. And this is not according to time and price here. This, I'm just drawing this in, and then I'll fix it later. So we'll be looking for a move down to test the bottom. And then we'll be looking for, if the trend line holds, we'll be looking for the next target, 786. Sound good, you guys? All right. Thanks for joining us. That's all I got. Time to go play volleyball tonight in our league. So thanks for joining us here at Options Tender. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.